Everyone, we will start finally. So, thank you everyone for joining us today for this interesting session. It is called Mind Your Body Pros and Cons of IoB. This topic was brought up first in our NRI. I forgot to present myself. I am Alina Ustinova. I am the head of Youth Russian IGF. And this topic was first brought in our Youth Russian IGF, and we actually was really impressed by how this topic went and how people reacted to that. There were a lot of questions. People were trying to understand what kind of Internet of Body Things is. You all know about Internet of Things. So if you don't know about Internet of Bodies, it's not a new thing. It was, I guess, introduced in the mid 2010s, and it encompasses a wide range of technologies like smartwatches and maybe some kind of a neuro devices that put in your brain, for example. And most of the devices are used for the medical purposes, but because of that new technology, we should understand how it will affect not even us as a human beings, our evolution, but also the cybersecurity issues and the emerging technologies issues. So we will try to understand during this session how this technology will affect us, and we are joined by the wonderful speakers here. I will introduce them all shortly, and they will try to answer your questions. So how the discussion will went, we will be divided by blocks. The first block will be medical, then we have a little Q&A session. Then we have the AI emerging technology block, and we will have little Q&A session. And then the last one is cybersecurity block. But it depends on how you went. And if you want to ask questions after the session, it's possible. The organizer asked us to be a little bit earlier, so we'll finish about 10:50. So thank you very much. So today we're joined by Lev Pestrenin. He's a deputy department head of Center for Diagnostics and Telemedicine of the Moscow Health Department. We also have Igor Sergeyev, the head researcher of Federal Center for Applied Development of Artificial Intelligence. He's online. Gabriele Marcelli, the CEO of CG Impact Ventures. Irina Pantina, the GR Director of Positive Technologies. James Amati of Norison IT, who's also with us online. And also we have Bulletov Online moderator, Anna Karolina Diaz, who will help me in this session, I hope, and will ask the question coming from the chat online. So we'll start with the medical block and with understanding of how these devices are used in the medical purposes. So Lev, please start. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm a researcher in the Moscow Center for Diagnostics and Telemedicine, and we implement artificial intelligence in healthcare, specifically in radiology. So why do I sit here? I'm sure that artificial intelligence and Internet of Bodies have something in common. Both are new technologies, and we want to benefit from them while we also want avoiding risks of these technologies. So today I'd like to show you on the example of artificial intelligence implementation in the healthcare. I'd like to show how is it possible to really benefit and to avoid risks at the same time. One moment. Something is wrong with my presentation. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. In a few words, what is radiology in Moscow looks like? As usual, patients undergo studies, radiological studies, for example, chest X-ray, then images all images from all hospitals of Moscow get into the data center, which is located in our Center for Diagnostics and Telemedicine. And after that, radiologists describe these images, make reports, and in 1, 2, or sometimes a little bit more hours, a doctor and patient already has results of the examination. Next slide, please. Okay. So it is possible due to a centralized healthcare system. It took several years to centralize data, to centralize all radiological descriptions, and now it was possible to start Moscow experiment in implementing artificial intelligence in healthcare. So we started this experiment in 2020, and we had a lot of difficulties, a lot of questions at the beginning, because it's new technology, and there were no answers how we could use it and avoid different risks of artificial intelligence. But generally, we managed to overcome all these risks of artificial intelligence in healthcare. So today I'd like to tell you about three main components, which were the key components for this success. The first component is data. Data sets, high quality data sets, are very important for artificial intelligence training and testing. So what is data sets? It is a set of radiological studies with the reports, and using these data sets, it's possible to train artificial intelligence to find some kind of pathology like pneumonia or cancer, for example. And it is possible to test artificial intelligence and assessment. Here, for data, we are following one of the main principles. It organized storage and organized collection of data. The second principle is artificial intelligence monitoring. Scientists, researchers, developers all over the world said about artificial intelligence, about its power. Someone said that it is possible that artificial intelligence could be used, and doctors will stay without work. But now we see that it is not so. Artificial intelligence is a great helper for doctors. It could make measurements. It could helps doctor to find some pathology. But now artificial intelligence cannot replace doctors at all. So that's why it is to monitor artificial intelligence work. And we developed and successfully used life cycle for checking the quality of artificial intelligence. We do it regularly every month, and we make an assessment of artificial intelligence to be sure that medical care is of a high quality. And this life cycle also helps us to improve artificial intelligence, because we can find mistakes of artificial intelligence, and we could change these AI services and improve their quality. And the third principle is ethics. It is basic principles of medical ethics, which were used for many centuries, and we still follow them. So one of the main principles is privacy of patients, is safety of patients, and patients' confidentiality. So artificial intelligence could improve quality of healthcare, but without following ethics, I think it is impossible to use it, because it can bring more harm for patients than benefits. So, due to these three components, high quality data sets, then monitoring of artificial intelligence, and the third component is ethical principles, we could provide for patients a very simple way of radiological studies. You see it here. So it is, as usual, undergoing radiological examination, then doctor describes, write a report, and after that, patient and physicians get the results of these studies. And here on the step 3, you see that now doctors, radiologists get two images for every patient. First is a native image, and the second is image which is processed by artificial intelligence. That's why it is possible to use artificial intelligence and get and benefit from it. And what are the key achievements, key results of implementation of artificial intelligence? Here you see some facts, but generally speaking, there are three main achievements. The first is improved quality of healthcare. The second is eased access to health services. And the last principle is enhanced safety of patients. And I'd like to show you one more slide about artificial intelligence, how it's work. You see, we have more than 50 AI solutions in the Moscow, and they could detect different types of pathology on different types of studies, like X-ray, computer tomography, or MRI, for example. And to conclude my presentation, I'd like to say that artificial intelligence, like Internet of Bodies, it's our possible future, which could help us to live longer and to be healthier during our life. So I'd like to invite you to visit our center to learn more about artificial intelligence in healthcare, and it's very easy to do. Please just ask, and we could organize your visit. And we will be happy to see you in our center. Thank you very much.
This was a very interesting presentation, I guess. Like people learns a lot about it. And maybe a small question before we move to the next speaker. In your opinion, in your experience, how do you think will the introduction of this device or integration into the human body will affect the human evolution? Like, for example, will be part robots? like just a futuristic question.
Yes, thank you for the interesting question. I think you are right. Maybe in the future we will we will look like robots a little bit. Now we don't know all technologies. There is a very interesting thought that now, on a short period of time, we tend to overestimate technologies, and for a longer period of time, we tend to underestimate technologies. So after 20 or 30 years, maybe we have bionic eyes or something like that, and yes, we would do our work faster, I think. We and we can get a lot of benefit from it. But I am sure that using of all these devices should be controlled first of all by the doctors, because these devices never should be harmful for people.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Now we move to the next speaker and we'll try to understand how monitoring devices are actually making people's lives easier, especially in the remote areas where the hospitals is not an option. For some people, Igor, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will present report on the theme, the state of home care sector in terms of implementation of wearable and wearable diagnostics and vital sign monitoring devices. The pandemic COVID-19 has become a catalyst for the development and application and production of individual devices of body monitoring vital sign. Russian Federation enormous territory and affects this clinical institution sometimes blockade to for the patients. These kinds of devices, the only solution for prone patients condition monitoring. Such devices include a range of CO2, ECG, and respiration recorders, apnea, glucose, and cholesterol levels analyzed, and other devices. Innovative companies of Russian Federation, including Skolkovo residents, are introducing this development and personalized medicine, implementing software solution based on them, including artificial intelligence, to improve the level of diagnostics of reduce monitoring among the adult population. Currently, the registry of such solution in the Russian Federation includes software neural network system care mentor, IE. This is the website http caremonitor.ru. Software sales it is website http salesforce.ii. Software artificial intelligence systems for analysis of cardiology studies is websites dstars.ru. System for supporting in medical decisions, electronic clinical pharmacologists, these websites, www.acp.umpb.com. Software system for supporting medical decision, webiomed.ai. The rapid development of hardware for monitoring functional indicators began at the turn of the 2000s, but this widespread implementation in the system of high-tech care began much later. An example for such projects implementation in the Russian Federation can be Medicare and innovation artificial intelligence systems. Development and implementation of health indicator remote monitoring services will provide undeniable advantages for all interested participant sensed the use of the services will allow to reduce the level of mortality and disability of the population due to early detections of developing cardiovascular risk and endocrine diseases in citizens. Risk disease acceleration. And automated the process of continuous monitoring and analysis of patients' health indicators to ensure doctors' emergency identification in case of the patient's monitoring indicators critical deviations. To increase the number of patients covered by observation. To increase the reliability and quality of medical care for a population without this need for frequent visits to medical institution. To reduce the cost of medical institution by reducing the need for hospitalization. To improve medical knowledge based by processing and analyzing a large amount of patient medical data. My report completed. Thank you for your attention. I have a few last questions.
For the presentation, I guess that you're right in telling that sometimes when the medical servers are not available, it is better to have some device that can track your medical conditions, and you'll be able to send it to the healthcare institution to understand what kind of illness you have. And that's why it causes another risk, as we're going to talk about, cybersecurity risk. Because we know that we can talk about data security and also, but what about the human security? For example, sometimes when we speak about Internet of Bodies, we need to understand that if the something is integrated into your body, that means that you are a computer yourself and you can be hacked as a computer. So the main question is how to get rid of it. Please, Irina, if you can say something. How can we manage the cybersecurity risks into cyber-human risks, maybe some kind of that?
Thank you, Alina. I take my headphone off. Let me start from maybe just introduction into the types and classification of different types of Internet of Bodies. I would highlight this from a perspective of whether it can influence your, as a human or your body or not. And the first types of devices that also need to be protected are so-called wearable devices, and their main feature is to promote the data to a central storage, to a central data house. And the main risks arise from these types of devices and data transferring is data leak. And all the risks that we know about data leak are applicable for these types of devices, for this group of things. Another group is more interesting from a cybersecurity perspective, is a group of devices that could interact with a central processor and that could send a manageable influence on your body. For example, we do not expect that cochlear implant could manage the tone and could send a signal to your ear, even if you are deaf. But it can manage and it could change your behavior. Next example that Igor mentioned, and devices that Igor mentioned, insulin pump. When you can change the dosage on remote, then you can influence and you can make different injuries into the bodies. And all of you remember the fresh example of September terrorist attack with smartphones and pagers in Lebanon and Syria. And that's an example how this transferring signal could damage big groups of people. And if we are talking about widely spread technologies, so for the people with different types of disease, they could be an interesting and very important targets for attacks, for criminals, of different types of criminals. And you know this example, when these types of cyber risk weren't fixed, when one of the heads of US got a pacemaker as an implant, asked to turn it off from a remote management due to the when he got this chair, very high level chair, he asked to turn off this remote managing due to the risks being attacked and being hacked with criminals. So from this perspective, we should talk about two types of influence, the data leakage and the total control of doing impossible and doing an acceptable event. We name it an acceptable event, and we have to prevent such an events using different types of organizational, technical, instrumental features and practices. And let's talk about what we can get in case we do not think of the cybersecurity risks in terms of Internet of Bodies. The first one is we've got a credibility gap of the final users, of the end users of these technologies. And as Igor mentioned about providing healthcare for remote regions, for different types of people who can get healthcare fast and quite close to the place of living, it become a vital problem for them, and it arises a lot of questions around that. And we have a choice in between whether we can fix this risk and face them and find ways how to work with them, and on the other hand, to ignore that and face the problems of lacking healthcare, impossibility to help people to live their best life. And as Alina mentioned in her introductory speech, Internet of Bodies is kind of part of Internet of Thing topic, and it arises a good point for us, because we know a lot to do with the Internet of Things from different points of view, in terms what every actor has to do managing cyber risks. And as we are here on United Nations floor, and we are sharing our multi-stakeholderism framework, I got some inputs for every participant, every group of participant from this perspective. Well, what have the producers and providers of Internet of Body can do in this topic? The first one is to think of cybersecurity as a vital question, as a very important point, and as we think about governmental and environmental and social points that are important for every company, then the cybersecurity is crucial for the company as well. So if we can place it in one row, we can talk about ESGC concept, ESGC framework as good practice for managing companies. another point is to test the devices they provide to the end users, to the consumers, and using different practices and inviting the best analysts worldwide. For that, we've got some platforms that are well known as bug bounty platforms that could help to test in circumstances quite close to real attacks, quite close to real life and techniques that criminals can use, and it helps to improve the systems. It helps to make it more sustainable and applicable for end users. Another group is cybersecurity providers. They got their own responsibility in improving their own skills, their own expertise in testing Internet of Bodies with their own focus on specific of it, that it's not just something that implemented somewhere so far, but it is implemented in the individual's body, and it has an influence and has an impact on the person. And the second one, to provide specific solutions for protecting. It could be software, hardware items, it could be processes and organizational features, all the instruments that we have should be included into the consulting services by the experts in cybersecurity. And the third pillar is governments and authorities, and I think they have to do, they used to, so establishing the rules for how to use these devices, how to let them enter the markets, and how to be affordable for different groups of people without any dependencies. So, and to conclude my speech, I would want to one point that if we do not take into account the cyber risk, or if we underestimate it in this exact topics, in this exact topic, Internet of Bodies, then we have to pay a very high price, and that's the human life. Thank you.
So you covered lots of topics that are actually kind of at risk today. And just to shoot like a quick question, you mentioned lots of cases where the devices were hacked, and like the very bad things happened when the human lives were lost. But what about like the human sanity? You know, when, for example, there was an episode in Black Mirror where a person was wearing the lenses, and his memories were not changed, but he was caught on that and repeating them correctly. So do we need like to regulate the usage of the IoB devices by humans themselves so they don't harm themselves with them? Or is it just a point of free will and we should leave the fate of human in his own hands? Just like that.
I think, thank you for a very important question. I believe that the individuals, on the one hand side, are rather smart, and they can understand what impact and what influence has the different devices to their lives from positive side of usage. But they underestimate the risks, and it must be from my perspective, it must be common discussion, it must be open discussion of these topics started by the experts. And there must be a balance of the views that enthusiasts who can try and who understand the risks to discover the steps that we do not know at the moment, because some risks arise and could be clear after a period of usage, after entering different situations. And in this sense, so-called ethical hackers could play a very important role, because they can test from unpredictable ways, from unpredictable points of views, to identify the risks, to find a way how to fix them, and how to provide secure solutions as a result. Thank you.
Very much. Yes, I guess you're right in a point. And now we need to also cover another risk that is not always recognized probably properly when we speak about using this device, because when we use devices like phone or a tablet, we do not actually see the difference between different marks of the phone or maybe the usage, but if we put a device into the human body, it will be seen. So the main question is, won't some IoB devices cause the segregation of people? Like, for example, you will have the device that is very costly and very high priced put in the human body, and he has the pros of the on his life that the person with the cheaper devices doesn't. So how can we avoid this? Gabriela, if you can share with us your point of view.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting to this panel. So in terms of segregation, you actually are hitting the jackpot, with this question, because we will have a two-tiered future, so the enhanced people and the unaugmented, so those who are kind of living like our regular normal life as we do right now. So when we talk about body augmentations powered by AI and the Internet of Bodies technologies, such as, again, neural implants, biometric prosthetics, and so on. These actually technologies could widen the existing gap in the social economical classes. So this is something that we need to understand, because we will definitely have advantages in intelligence, in strength, in health, maybe even lifespan. So this is for sure raising a few ethical questions going forward. Perhaps we should think also on how to answer some of the topics related to access to augmentation. So should body enhancements be treated as a basic a basic right or luxury, or topics about authenticity. So will humanity actually lose the line between natural and synthetic existence? You do also have topics related to decision autonomy, as was mentioned also by the colleague here before. So who actually decides what is acceptable, right? Body augmentation. Is it the government? Is corporations, individuals, doctors, right? So like all of these are actually topics that need to be discussed, because we need to think as a patient-centered healthcare going forward, right? So like, who is the ultimate decision maker? Of course, it's us individuals, but the doctors are the one with the knowledge. But on the other hand, like, they're have the knowledge of the body. The technology is most probably a private-owned entity which knows the technology. So they will sell the ideas to the doctors. So it's a very complex, I would say, setting, and the ecosystem, of course, will be regulated by the government. So this is like something that we need to, in general, think when it comes to this future social economic segregation that is going to happen. There is no way out of it. Whenever you keep on getting new technologies and you try to do something new, for sure some impact one way or another is going to happen. So here we can also mention the so-called AI-powered workers. So we're not talking about the robots, but enhanced humans that could outperform normal workers like us right now. So eventually, you won't need eventually a lot of vitamins or something. I don't know, like anti-stress pills or vitamin D, every day. So perhaps we will, be eventually a little bit more faster, smarter. In that sense. We also have then, the access to health augmenting implants. So this could, of course, raise the question of wealth, right? So it will create a divide. So the augmented elite, if you will, and the unprivileged bio-traditionalists, let's put it that way. So, of course, you can always pick, but if you want to kind of power up, perhaps some people will choose like a new way of existence. And we don't know how is this going to be perceived. Is this going to be perceived as something cool, or is this going to be perceived as, oh, you're sick? So it's a little bit also of this type of thinking that we could in general discuss, and I can't say that I've been on many panels that were discussing these type of issues, so I'm more than happy that we keep on discussing this type of things. And in general, global inequality will definitely be a topic, so wealthy nations will adopt augmentation tech faster, so we will see like a marginalized group of countries, and we definitely need to eventually ensure like equal access if this is in the interest of the patient. And on this point, if I may, I would just like continue also a little bit on the harm that these technologies can do, because we do need to understand that the IoB devices, like again smart lenses, are capable, for example, of recording everything you see. So this could actually revolutionize healthcare and law enforcement as well, but also pose major threats, because we have the surveillance and privacy risks on one side, because this type of lenses could easily be some covered surveillance tools, and without regulation in this sense, they could for sure record people without their consent, enable, of course, governments, companies to track citizens' every move. We have different, we have this that is already doing, all of this, and now if we put, of course, this on our bodies, this is just going to implement it even more. Create, of course, deep fakes, realities, manipulating basically just some video content, recording through these lenses eventually. Any type of exploitation that you can think of, from corporate manipulation. The corporate world is focused on profit, right? So we need to make profit in order to be sustainable, because otherwise we need to lay people off, and it's not like a good way of doing business. So recording users' environments, of course, like deliver, ultra targeted ads. So you have Meta, or with Facebook, Instagram, and all the similar platforms that, of course, are using the data that we see right now as their actual capital, but this is also, an open door for blackmail, social control by hackers also, who can access footage and can, of course, exploit these private moments of individuals. So in this, I would say, context, we definitely need to, think about the moral implications and think about some comprehensive governance strategies that definitely must ensure ethical approval of devices, strict licensing, I would say, and penalties for any misuse, and just very transparent AI algorithms that monitor how data is stored and where shared, access, so all of this. Right now, AI has still big problems to solve, so we hope in the intelligence of the experts and the analysts that are working on that to actually work on all the black box and all of the issues that AI has right now, on the biases that it creates. So this is in any case something that I would say rises cybersecurity and AI-driven privacy violations and cybercrime risks ecosystem that need to be monitored and definitely talked before we become kind of guinea pigs and we don't have like a clear understanding of where can this go and what do we do. So we for sure are individuals and patients, for our doctors, we will for sure be the ultimate decision makers. We will for sure sign papers that we understand the risks. There is no other way out of this. But at the same time, the supply chain from the idea to the development and then to the implantation in the body definitely needs to be monitored. And for sure also the manufacturing and the understanding of how can you fix if something breaks. So where do you go? Like, oh, my implant is not working, I'm glitching. Where do I go? We have like some, centers like phone centers where you just like go and repair yourself. So this is a little bit of the supply chain that eventually would need to be thought of together with all the ethical implications at hand.
You actually covered lots of things that we're trying to understand with this new emerging technologies. And one, you mentioned that yes, we have phones and we use it every day of our lives, and if it will be put inside our bodies, it will definitely change. So I will go to James and ask him to start with that question. How do you think, James, how can a person be offline if a device put on him make him online like constantly? And please share with us your input on how Internet of Bodies will be developed in the future.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is James. I'm talking from Ghana. I do hope I'm clear. Now, Internet of Bodies is not new, but it's one of the emerging components of Internet of Things, which embodies the integration of chips into regular devices to be able to track, collect, and analyze data. Now, in this new realm, for example, when we look at health, we are looking at the three phases of health. That's preventive, curative, and then protective, right? So, for example, when we look at um, let's say a disease like asthma, a doctor will want to know what the patient's triggers are, when the triggers happen, how often they happen. And sometimes, all of that consultation cannot be done in the hospital. Now, there are certain cases of autoimmune diseases that do not have any known, should I say, any known cure. So the use of IoB can help doctors and then help hospitals and health facilities to be able to determine what causes it, how long, what the triggers are, and what can be done to prevent it. Now, unfortunately, there is life after the hospital, and the person has a different life other than the condition they are faced. So it is very difficult for you to constantly track them and quote unquote constantly put them online because of certain risks. We've Other members of the panel have spoken about cybersecurity risk. Other members of the panel have spoken about data risks, but I would look more at social risks, right? So, for example, we are looking at a problem of dependence, right? How are we going to make sure that the patient does not become too dependent or over reliant on the implant, right? So, for example, unless it is an artificial limb, that actually helps the patient to walk. If it's a pill, um, so there is this, should I say, there's this new invention of pills that have cameras, sensors that stay in the body and that actually record internal body action. And we want to ask ourselves, how long is data allowed to stay in the body? How much of an influence does it have on things like genome editing, DNA configuration, and DNA programming, and how much of an effect can that alter the unique character of the person? So if you're, you know, and also what kind of data are these things sending? Right, so we do have something we call the CRISPR-Cas9, which is a form of genome editing that uses bacterial immune system data to modify the DNA of living cells. So that means that currently there's data and there's research and there are certain elements of IoB that can modify the components of your DNA. And that modification then leads to modification of character, modification of behavior, modification of influences, and that could have very long-term effects. Now, one of those issues is an issue of manipulation and social engineering, where there's something we call a hyper personalization syndrome. Now, currently, if you are, let's say you and your friend are having a conversation on WhatsApp or any of these social media platforms, when you jump onto another platform, you could just see an ad of, oh, the what you were talking about with your friend. Now, how about this now going into your body and then actually understanding your feeling of what are you feeling currently? That could have very diverse issues. So, for example, when we talk about suicide and mental health, we want to know that how often can a device manipulate and influence suicidal thoughts, and how often can it manipulate a person to take on these suicidal thoughts. So this real-time modification of the DNA can lead to real-time manipulation, whereby the person is online, or should I say the person is offline, but then there's an internal online modification. Now, we do have what we call data breaches, right? So data breaches sort of happen when the data that's supposed to be stored in a particular place has been given unauthorized access to by a third party, either through hacking, breach force, or the use of spyware. Now, if it's an external software system, there could be preventive measures that could be implemented. But if it's in the body, and then the body is now being misconfigured, how do we reconfigure that? Now, also, we have to look at things like when we talk about devices and software, we have to look at things like updates. Now, updates are a very thin line when it comes to human computer interaction. Now, if your phone is updating on its own, it has the ability to influence the behavior of applications and also the data that they use, right? And also the permissions these applications have. So if we are looking at Internet of Things and Internet of Bodies, we have to be able to design should I say, update mechanisms and frameworks that do not have adverse issues or adverse effects on the body. We have to look at compatibility, we have to look at biology, we have to look at the device version, and that, those things are things that are currently not regulated. I know in the health field, it might be a bit different. I'm not too much of a doctor, but from the should I say national and regulatory framework, I am here to see a comprehensive study and a comprehensive should I say, a comprehensive law that caters for devices, their updates, and then the changes these updates will bring to the body. Now, all of these data that we are doing and all of this real-time tracking of person that is online, even though the person exists offline, can lead to things like predictive profiling. So currently in analytics, you do what we call persona definition, where you are looking at the psychographical nature of the person. So what the person thinks, what the person feels, what influences their buying decisions. Now, with IoB and then DNA programming, there's this ability of companies or people who have malicious intentions to use the data that our body provides them through these devices to now profile us and then use things like predictive analysis to then determine what can, you know, what somebody is more likely to buy. So it's now takes it from, devising marketing strategies to now tweaking devices that are in your body. So for example, we have the new venom of, should I say, wearable devices, especially for the eye. And these have the tendency to pupillate the iris and then send different signals uh, to the brain. And now these things then lead to what we call attack on cognitive security. Once you bring the brain into the picture, then you now have an attack on the cognitive behavior of the person. So you are now going to exploit cognitive biases. You now have to deal with brain-computer interface vulnerabilities. So, for example, we have issues of a coin that is being implanted into the brain to allow differently abled people to be able to interact with computers, to be able to move things. Now, how much of do we have to create a balance between re-enabling that person and integrating that person, and also being that person to be independent of that device, and having the personal intuition or the personal drive to be able to turn it on and off, right? So I think that these are some of the things that we could look at in terms of how can a person be able to turn off some of these devices that are in them. How much power do they have over the devices? Is it a matter of manufacturer versus patient and who wins? Or if there's an issue with the government, and now the government now becomes a third party between the manufacturer and the patients, who is going to win in the ability to determine how, when, and where their data is used? So thank you very much.
James, I guess you covered lots of issues, and it's very interesting to listen to you. And you mentioned actually the thing called genome changing, and I guess it's a very interesting aspect that no one said before that. And before we move to the Q&A session, I'll have a question for every speaker. Yesterday Henry Kissinger said a very interesting thing. He said that the future of humanity eventually that to survive, humanity needs to have a biosynthesis with AI. So maybe we can give comments. Do you agree with this point of view? Do you think that eventually we will just become part AI, part human, etc.? And then we move to Q&A. But just a short answer, like Who want to start? Irina, please.
Okay,
Let me start first. Let me be the first. Um, I believe that humans are smart enough to implement AI to the fields that they can get the positive response, the positive impact rather than the negative ones. And we have enough power at different levels to fix the negative. From time to time, we will have, I'm sure we will have some examples of misusage or of this technology, but at the same time, in parallel, we will have an examples how to fix it.
Does anyone want to add something and tell his opinion or hers? Gabriela?
I'll be just very quick. I think this is, a philosophical question. Where do we want to go as humans? And perhaps at the level of Kissinger, perhaps at the level, of global strategists, like you already are trying to understand what else, right? So perhaps this is a way to go. I think it's an inevitable evolution of the technology because once we reach a certain limit of development, whether it's a country or company, people need to think of, need to sit, think, and then decide where do we go now. So it's just a matter of understanding the possible futures and if we like those options or not. At this moment, if everyone is feeling excited about this, I think the humanity wants to try it out, not knowing what will happen. So it's more the curiosity inside of us that wants to keep moving. Oh, let me see what will happen, even though we most probably won't be happy with the result. But it's just human nature to keep pushing in the unknown when we already have everything. So I think we definitely need to fix I would say, the basic problems of the world, but since the technology has gone so much forward and we're, of course, there is still like the quantum computing and all the cybersecurity issues that come with it, but we are still very far from that. We're far from, getting all the AI chips running and so many things for humans to do. But I think this is just like an additional, curiosity that just people want to see happening. And we, I guess, will live long enough to see what happens. So yeah.
Thank you. Now we're ready to, if no one has anything to add, we're getting to the questions. So if everyone has any questions, please raise your hand. And if anyone in the line has any questions, please write it, and Anna will read your question to our speaker. So do we have any questions? No one has any questions? Okay, I will ask my question, which I'm very interested at. We covered actually lots of aspects of the time, but I I like the futuristic works of art, especially in terms of when they see it in games, in the movies, and in the future they actually show that we have a very gloomy future if we come to use these technologies. For example, like in many games, you show that if you have the medical insurance that is more, that is covered more, that is richer, and you have, like as I said before, the implants that is costly, you will have the medical attention you need, and you will live more than the person who doesn't have it. And how do you think, maybe it's a very cynical question, but will the Internet of Bodies eventually let that to the people that some companies, not government, will regulate who will live and who will die, depending on which kind of implants it has in their own body? Do we moving from the government regulation to the company regulations in terms of the technology? So if anyone has anything to add, You are welcome to add something to that.
Um, yes, if I may.
Yes, James, please.
Yes, I think it has to go hand in hand. We cannot just regulate the companies and leave the governments. The governments also have to regulate themselves. So because in this era where we have a lot of wars and interruptions to global peace, governments can now use some of these things as tools to be able to program, to be able to, should I say, reprogram people and then give them extra abilities. The, it's, it's just a matter of limiting how far we can go with this, right? Because we do not want the case where it's an open play field and anybody can do anything. So in one hand, you have to regulate the companies who are producing this. In the other hand, you also have the government also has to regulate itself to prevent itself from, you know, using, this as a weapon rather than as a tool, right? Because if you take a knife in the kitchen is used for cutting vegetables, but when you put the knife into the hands of a killer, it becomes a dangerous tool. So the technology in of itself is not dangerous, but once it ends up in the hands of people with malicious intent, it can, have that dangerous elements to it. So I think that the co-regulation of both governments at the national level, that's countries themselves, and then also international bodies that they are part of, like, for example, the UN, the ITU, and all these international regulatory bodies. It's up to them to be able to co-regulate themselves and then also the governments that form part of them to be able to make sure that the technology does not go out of hand. Thank you.
Gabriele, you wanted to add?
Just very quick, but I just want to draw a parallel here because I think what your question is asking, who will live and who will die, who is deciding on this. I think, this is already happening. So if you think of just the line in hospitals to get a body transplant, right? So it's the same thing right now. So you have a line and you have a line, so you need to wait. Whether you're, a billionaire or whether you have nothing, you have a line. And so exactly. And so this is, a little bit of the body transplant parallel that I think it's very, very similar. So it's just a matter of, augmentation, maybe fixing a problem rather than having a new organ, transplanted. Because of course, from how I see it, we will have I don't want to say which sector is going to come up with this, but I already can imagine. We will have fake, implants. So we will have, people that will do this and sell you, like in the gray economy, hey, can you sell me like, today is something else, and tomorrow will be the same product, but in this gray economy, it will happen. It's like inevitable. So people will try to copy. People will try to, do business in a way, and they will produce harm. So it's inevitable for this to happen. And in any case, it's like a line that, okay, you don't have money for like the good quality products, no problem. You have, a cheap version that, yeah, maybe you will die tomorrow, but hey, this is your chance of getting augmented. So I think this is going to happen, like if we go into this sector here, because as with body transplants today, yes, you have a line, but my specialization is in criminal law, and so I do understand the underneath unfortunate situation that we have, and we do have criminal organizations and etc. who do work on skipping the line, if you will, right? So this will happen, and I think it's already happening, you know, in the system we have now with the problems currently that we have now. So it's just going to be, you know, the problem is going to be augmented, let's put it that way.
Lev, you wanted to answer to add something?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to add about control. I think that you are totally right. Now we see that private companies have a lot of control on our phones, on our devices, and sometimes this control is much more stronger than governments could provide. So I think in this case it should be a balance for control, and control should be from all sides, all participants of this process. Private companies first, government the second, and people the third. So, as it was said yesterday on panel discussion, only knowledge is a power, and they could help us to survive in the future. So I think we should study about new technologies, and we should aware of how to control and manage them.
So, do we have any question? No. So I guess that on this, you have. Okay, can you please give the mic to the person?
Thank you. Really interesting topics, and given the work I do, I think often of the risks and the challenges for controlling these types of technologies as well as harnessing their power. So I guess my question is, do we feel that there is enough understanding of the technology to be able to create committees, organizations, frameworks to make sure we can make the most of what IoB can enable while still protecting the individuals who ultimately will bear the risks of the and as well as the benefits. But so do you know what I mean? I think I want to understand, do we have the knowledge and capacity to, as an international community, harness the benefits as well as make sure we are able to understand and control the risks of the technology?
Basically asking, do we know enough to to not make no harm? So from does anyone has left, please?
Maybe I can answer that a bit. Yes, so I think it depends on where you're coming from. So, for example, I live in Ghana, from Africa, where we are mostly, when it comes to IoB, we are mostly consumers. Um, most of the wearables we get are imported, and sometimes it's seen as a lifestyle thing where, for example, there's this new trend of BBLs. Um, that is seen as a lifestyle thing, but people do not totally understand, the implications, the technological, the people do not understand where this is coming from and where this can lead, right? So I think we need to position or to put more effort in community awareness, raising awareness, education on, what is truly at stake here and how best we can move forward. Because like Anna said, some of these things are inevitable, they will definitely happen. It's just a matter of, are we ready for it, when it happens, or are we going to allow it to overtake us, and now, we have to play catch up on, things like regulation, things like trying to control the spread and the production of these things. Much like social media, we relaxed a bit and then we had to play catch up. I think a lot of that is also can be seen in the AI space. So we want to be able to make sure that we are ahead of the trend, which is very difficult to do, I must say. But we have to start from somewhere, and we have to hope that we stay ahead, because once this overtakes us, it's actually part of the human body, and it's very difficult to get rid of, just by a policy or a regulation. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Leslie wants to also
Yes.
answer this.
I think that it is. Thank you. Is it okay? I think now it's not possible to have all knowledges of all the world, because there are many different specialities. And on example of artificial intelligence, so if doctors use artificial intelligence, only them could not be confident that artificial intelligence is a safety. So, and for example, engineers, they are also could not be confident that artificial intelligence is safety, because it is multidisciplinary projects and technologies. I think if we want to have some control from our side, from people, the future is for multidisciplinary teams, groups, committees, or even it's very good to have some friends with knowledges in different spheres. And so communication is our key opportunity to survive.
Thank you very much. I guess we ran out of time, so thank you for a wonderful discussion. I guess we covered lots of aspects. So if you want to change context with the listeners, please welcome. Thank you our online speakers as well who joined us today, and have a good IGF for the first. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.